Hey everybody, welcome to Hills and Gills. Chuck here with you today. If you're new to the channel, today we're tying up a 1/80th ounce jig. I got 25 of them for $4. I laid some paint on. We're going to be bringing some more down the line here. But today we're tying up like a little fry type. You can see just about how small from the jig head to the hook is about like my little fingernail. Super small, low profile type jig. You'll be seeing it closer up coming up here in the video, going over everything that you need. But these are killers when those big crappie are targeting a smaller bait fish, like when the hatch is coming off on different species of fish, or when you're bluegill fishing for those big bluegill. The way I like using these a lot of time is putting a small bobber or floater, as I call it, about 3 foot or so above it, and then just flip it out around brush, around weeds, pop that floater with like 4 or 6 pound test, and hey, killed the big giant bluegill and as well as crappie and so on this little jig right here. So it's a simple tie. Let's tie up the little fry. Let's get this little jig tied up. This is a 1/80th micro jig right here. Be perfect for like when the fry hatch is going on, fishing for big bluegill, even crappie when they're targeting a smaller type jig. We'll be going over everything that you need as we're doing this tie here. We're going to start out. I love red thread on like minnow type jigs, so that's what we're going to be using today. And we're just going to go about a quarter of a way down and right back up behind that jig head. Okay guys, the first thing we're going to be using, this is some craft and fur. If you're interested in picking some of this up for yourself, it's called Furry Valley Craft Fur. You can get this off Amazon. It comes in a big gallon bag, individual pack, multiple different colors from pink and so on. Kind of got that grizzly look. But if you don't have nothing like this on a little tie, you can go with an olive, a black, a gray, light gray, anything for the back to give it that minnow look, or minnow look as I say. So we're just going to get us a pinch of this out here. I love working with this. You can see how it's kind of got that bucktail look, those jagged hairs. Great for flies and jigs alike. And we want him to come back just past the hook right there. So we'll get this cut down. Okay, we got him cut. I'm going to flip my jig around and I'm just going to go right between the bend of that hook. If we need to straighten him up any further, we can do that after we want to get the tie done. Bump him right up against that jig head and give him a couple turns there. Then we can get rid of any excess fibers that we missed in the tie or anything like that. Make sure he's flush there, right on top of that shank. That looks pretty good. So now we'll just go ahead and lock this down here. And we'll flip our jig back over. Now the next thing we're going to be adding is some polar flash. And we're going to be using very little of it. It's going to be sitting between the back part of the jig and the belly part. So we'll get just a few strands of this fiber here. I love working with this. This is pearl, if you're interested in what polar flash that we're using here today. We're going to be going with a pearl. And that's kind of going to just run right down the middle of the jig, just to give it a little bit of character. Kind of like that flash look it would be like on a small type bait fish. And then we're going to lay him right down. We want him to come down right to the end of those longest hairs. And then we'll go ahead and get him cut here. We're going to lay him right on top of that shank. A couple of wraps there. Make sure he's laying flat. And then lock him in. There we go. It's looking pretty good. And then the next thing we're going to be using is some white synthetic hair. I got this at Hobby Lobby. That's a 9x12 sheet. And this is what I use a lot on my smallmouth jigs, crappie, bluegill, trout. It's just great stuff to work with, and to me, it actually looks better in the water than bucktail. It's got more action to it. So we'll just get us a pinch of this, just like we did with that gray. Never get in a rush when you're tying a jig or doing any kind of work like that where measurements has to come in. Give them a couple of turns here. And then I want to look and make sure that it is right on top of that shank, even on both sides. That looks good. Clean him up a little. And then we're going to go ahead and build this collar up. And then, last but least, or not least, I can't talk tonight, guys. It is pouring rain outside, and I cannot hardly get my words out. We're going to do 5 turns on this little fella here. We're going to hit it with the UV resin or resin. We're going to go all around it. That gives it a nice shiny look, kind of bulks that collar up, and that locks all that material in. And then hit it with the old UV light. Well, guys, there you go, a little micro type minnow jig. That's all you can pretty much call it. It's on a 1 1/80 ounce jig. I really don't know what size hook that is right there, but you can see compared to my fingernail, my small fingernail, this is micro. This would be perfect for like bluegill, crappie, even trout or so on, creeks, streams, rivers, lakes, you name it, ponds. But a simple tie, guys, very effective on those fish. Anyway, if you liked the video, please give us a thumbs up. That helps our little channel out. With new videos coming out weekly. Also, subscribe if you're not a subscriber. We're going to be putting these to use coming up here. A lot of fishing coming up in 2025. We'd love for you to join us. Until next time, stay safe out there on the water. We'll see you right back here in the next one.